So we pull up to the cookout. We was boxing on the way there. Tommy rolled up on the way here. So I'm on every chick I see here.
Today, we are recapping issue 22 of Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If you have not read this issue yet, beware, there are major spoilers ahead. In the beginning of this issue, we meet the Wizard of Deception. If you guys remember the character from the Green Ranger versus the White Ranger episode, he was one of the villains, one of the main villains in that episode. And so we get to see him brought back into this issue. Rita wants something from him and has traveled a good ways to track him down. The wizard can craft the object Rita wants, but first requests her to speak the truth about why she seeks this particular object. Rita then says, "Because I have made a terrible mistake. I have failed, and I fear what will happen if I do not take back what I have foolishly given away." And I assume she's talking about the Green Ranger, and so it's definitely getting into that Green Candle kind of series, and we definitely see that, you know, with Rita's plans. You know, obviously she sees, you know, things didn't go the way she wanted to, you know, with Tommy, the Green Ranger. So she's now kind of gets into that point where we realize how she got the Green Candle in the first place. And that's, you know, through the Wizard of Deception. And we even briefly see kind of almost like a blueprint layout of the Green Candle that she hands to the Wizard of Deception, kind of confirming, you know, those steps of how it was made. And so the Wizard of Deception, he tells Rita to go home and he'll get in touch with her once it's done. So we can only assume and kind of just be on the edge of our seats knowing that, you know, that Green Candle part of the series is definitely coming within this comic. Flashing over to the command center, the Rangers are conversing with Zordon as he has been MIA for several months. The Rangers are ecstatic that Zordon has returned, but there are a few pressing matters at hand, such as Finster's monsters popping up all over the world, and the 1969 mission to the Moon Rangers Zordon kept secret. The Rangers ask about this, and we learn that Zordon deeply regrets this past decision, and the loss of human life in the process. He wanted to tell the Rangers when the time was right, and we even see Zack speak out on his frustrations, saying how Zordon wants the team to trust him, but it doesn't seem like Zordon trusts the team. Zordon apologizes for the events of the past, and Trini mentions how the team is now working with Grace Sterling as her tech helps them find Finster's monsters before they turn. Zordon cautions this involvement because he's not sure exactly how Grace obtained this technology. It could be within the Morphin grid. Talk about, you know, the Psycho Green, you know, thing that we seen in, you know, issue number 20, where, you know, at the end of issue 20, you know, Grace Sterling, she had the Psycho Green's, you know, weapon, dagger or whatnot, and that was in the back of my mind of, like, wondering what she was going to do with that. Why did she hold on to it? So I can only imagine that, you know, maybe, you know, this whole Promethea, you know, empire that she's built, does it have a connection, you know, with her being tapped into the Morphin grid and, you know, having that, you know, Psycho Green, you know, Ranger's dagger? Maybe that's how, you know, she's been able to, you know, create some of the technology that she has. I don't know. I guess that's something that is still in the back of my mind, and I'm sure that will be revealed, but I think that's definitely a fair speculation. And so Zordon just cautions them, you know, in terms of their relation with Grace Sterling. Flashing over to Promethea, Billy and Tommy converse as Billy works on tech, and Kim and Trini converse about Finster's monsters and the current situation. We also learn that Kim seems to be going through some rough family issues as her parents recently divorced, and her dad is soon to be engaged to his girlfriend. We can definitely see there's some awkwardness between Kim and Tommy, as she seems to be avoiding him as well. Flashing over to Saba, we see he is conversing with Finster and offers him to stay in the pocket dimension where he can create whatever he wishes, so long as he tells the team how to stop his monsters from terrorizing the Earth. Overall, Finster denies this offer, but what I love about this segment is how we have a chance to get into the mind of the villain and see just how brilliant and mysterious characters such as Finster can be. Back to Promethea, Tommy and Kimberly converse, and this is where things get, you know, tense relationship-wise. Tommy apologizes for coming into the restaurant a few days ago when Kim and her dad were having breakfast. She says it was no big deal, but you can definitely tell her emotions are saying otherwise. In this segment, as the reader, outside looking in, it's obvious Kim's home life is affecting her outlook on her romantic life, and balancing that can be difficult, especially being teenagers and not communicating clearly. We then see Jason conversing with Grace, and at one point of their talk, it really stuck out to me. I liked how Jason, asked her what happened to her team and how she is dealing with it. Grace responds by saying it took time for those past wounds to heal, but it certainly wasn't easy losing 3/5 of one's team. Jason explains how he and the team have had a pretty intense couple of months, and how he was afraid of losing Billy and Tommy when they were trapped in the alternate dimension. Grace says something that I thought was very impactful. That red helmet is heavier than the others, and it really allows both of these leaders to relate to one another, and points out the burden and responsibility the leader carries as being the Red Ranger, which I thought was heartfelt and interesting. The Rangers then get a notification about a monster transformation in New York, and then everyone gears up and heads out to take care of the matter. After the Rangers took off, Grace Sterling converses with Andrea, her lab assistant, and Andrea asks Grace if the Rangers know. Grace says not yet. When the time is right, they'll find out. But until then, there's a world to save. To be continued. Not sure where Grace is hiding, but I can only assume a few things. She definitely has some connection to the Morphin grid. At the end of issue 20, she had Psycho Green Ranger's dagger in her hand, so maybe that's her connection. Maybe her organization has Lord Draken captured? Who knows? But as usual, things continue to get interesting in the Power Rangers universe. Be sure to go to your local comic shop or visit Comixology online to subscribe to Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more recaps. Now enough from me. Stick around and hear from my good friend, Geek Level Asian.
What's up, Zentai-Fit? This is Robbie from Geek Level Asian, and I'm here to weigh in with my thoughts and opinions on issue 22 of Power Rangers. So right off the bat, since I'm coming in pretty late in the game, we're already up to issue 22, I just want to say that I really love what they're doing with all of the Rangers when it comes to their backstories. We're starting to learn or see more of their insecurities fleshed out in actual imagery. You know, there's that issue where we learn that Billy is so insecure about being a superhero that he actually morphs and then wears his clothes over the suit so that he feels powerful. We know what happened with Rita and Tommy, how she was whispering in his ear, and he was insecure about being on the team. I love that they're doing that. But in particular, what we've learned recently is more about Zordon, and that specifically is tied to issue 22. Because we learned about the Mighty Morphin team that existed with Grace as the Red Ranger and what happened to them, and that most of them died. The Rangers, our current Rangers, felt very strange about that entire situation, and I know that I would also. Zordon seems to be keeping or inhibiting information from the Rangers, and they're starting to get a little upset. I mean, he basically asked Zach to lie to everyone else about the whole Rita thing. He kept this a secret until Grace actually gave them all of the information, which, by the way, I don't trust Grace. I'm sure she's trying to do the right thing, but I don't trust her. I see her as a mad scientist. But now that Zordon is back, he expressed his regret in not telling the Rangers, and also his regret in making that decision in the first place and sending that original team to the moon where most of them were killed. I also like what they're doing with Finster. Now, let's be honest here. Power Rangers was a children's show. It really was. And Finster was probably not thought out completely. You know, he didn't really have a backstory. He just created these clay monsters for Rita, but they're actually going into his love and passion for art. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense because he was a sculptor. So I loved what they did where Saba goes to Finster and basically offers him a utopian environment for creators, where he can basically create whatever he wants. And then they have a discussion about art, which I also found kind of interesting because there's two schools of thought on that. Is art art if nobody sees it? I am not going to start an argument, but I just thought that was an interesting part of the issue. But then finally, towards the end of the issue, there's something that Grace is not telling us, and this goes into why I don't trust her. I don't think that Grace is actually considering the planet or the Power Rangers' best interests at all. I think that she's just, again, a mad scientist, and she cares about her creation. Basically, she failed as a leader, let's be honest. She wasn't given a great situation, and most of her team died on the first day, and she feels this guilt, so she wants to make up for it in some way, but all of her motivations are driven by that guilt, and not actually coming to terms with it. And that's a problem because she's being selfish. Yes, we need her technology right now so that we know where Finster's monsters are, but again, especially since we found out that she's lying about something, I just don't trust her. I don't know, what do you think?
Hey Robbie, I agree that Grace Sterling is definitely on the suspicious end of things. I'm curious to see what unfolds in the next issues to come. For our viewers watching today, what are your thoughts on this issue? Be sure to comment on this video. Also, if you are new to my channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel to get the latest on Boom Studios, Mighty Morphin Power Ranger comics, and more. Also, be sure to check out Geek Level Asian and support his channel as well. Link is in the description. Well guys, until the next issue, wham, bam, boom!